Welcome to tonight's Weather Live from WDRB. We decided to do one tonight, well, because there's an enhanced risk of severe weather. Rick, the severe weather risks that we had earlier this week on Wednesday, one of the things we talked about on that one is there was fuel and there was wind energy.
Together.
And that was in the morning. We
Right.
talked about the complexity of that afternoon, and that really was hard. If you recall, I said a half dozen to a dozen warnings. We saw three. Why the under? When we were talking about this one, I felt with the complexity of this one, let's not play it too conservatively because there were multiple scenarios that could play out. When we look towards Sunday, this is an interesting one. It's way different.
Totally
way different than what we saw on Wednesday. Really probably the most powerful low with a thunderstorm component that we've seen so far this late winter and spring.
Yeah, the low itself is very different. The forcing's very different. The actual levels of instability and wind are also very different compared to what we saw. This is some of the stronger winds I've actually seen with this storm coming through.
It's powerful.
Yeah, and that's going to be the the difference between Wednesday's storm is nothing like the storm that's going to arrive here Sunday night.
And this one's clean. Wednesday was challenging because there was an initial wave and then a second wave. This is a clean system with one wave and one wave only.
Right. And it's going to be in and out of here fast in the blink of an eye. So while we do have the opportunity for severe, just know the window's not huge.
Yeah.
It's going to be a smaller window. And with each and every passing day, we'll be able to fine tune exactly hour by hour where it's going to be and when, and that should really help things out. But this is not going to be playing out where we have waves of thunderstorms one morning, possibly one mid-afternoon, and then another one to kind of, grand finale, close things out during the evening hours, which is a good thing. But there is a window of time where you need to be on guard for sure.
And I'm just looking over your shoulder and I'm seeing Tina saying, when are we expecting this tonight? This is not tonight.
Yeah.
This is not Saturday. This is Sunday night. The title specifically said Sunday night, so remember, this is not for tonight. So just a reminder here for those of you joining us on our Facebook, please share the video. What that does is that allows our video to get out to reach more people. So we have about 660 people on Facebook right now. If you have 100 people that follow you, you click the share button. 60,000 people are now alerted that there's a live for an enhanced risk of severe weather on Sunday night. Look, they may or may not be interested, but at least it gives them the opportunity. And we'll be covering our area and our region. So if you have friends in Indy, friends in Illinois, friends in Missouri, Western Kentucky, we are going to cover those areas as well. So it makes sense for them to jump in as well if you've got family, friends from around that area. If you're joining me on my TikTok page, number one, thanks for joining. I don't even know if you can share on TikTok or not, but if you can, please share.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then on YouTube, please subscribe and let your friends know if you're a YouTuber. I think the YouTubers like the method kind of because you can throw it up on your TV a lot of different places. YouTube's pretty easy to work with, and then social media is just, well, social media. It's easy.
Right. It is. You
So
said social media.
that's what you say.
That's
isn't
what
it?
I say. I say call TikTok, Tic Tac. I just like
Tic
to
Tacs.
the Tic
You say
Tacs.
the Tic
The
Tacs.
Tic Tacs.
We don't have one for YouTube though. I just say
No.
YouTubers.
YouTubers?
We got
Well,
42 of them.
That's a challenge. I'm going to take that as a personal challenge.
Okay. So what we're going to do here tonight in this video, if you're new here, first, thanks for joining. What we do in these videos is these are more of a long form. These are not what we do in TV where it's a condensed 3-minute. The long form means we're going to go through a lot of the data. If you're kind of a weather geek like we are, you'll really enjoy this. Well, if you just want the details, maybe you could leave for now if you want, and 15 minutes later come back and we'll be in those crux of the details. But we're going to go through everything. Right. And then at the end of the video, and this is one of the things Rick really loves, is this is an interactive thing. We can't do that in the television space, but in the social we can, where you can ask questions. You can say, I live blah, blah, blah. What does that mean? And one of the things we'll say, Rick, is I'm just going to use an example. If I get a question from Fern Creek, that means the Highlands as well.
Yeah.
And that would mean Anchorage. That would mean the West End. That would mean Mount Washington. So remember the towns around you. This is not going to differ in terms of the threat over one county. It's going to be similar.
Right. And that's something I feel like, we can't say enough, but I know people are just curious what's going to happen not only in my county, but my neighborhood, on my street, at my house. And the skills of computer models aren't that good, just to be completely clear. So that's why we're not telling you that, because it's outside of our realm of possibility. But I know that's the answer that you want. So we're just keep in mind that regionally, talk about areas that you got to kind of, group certain ones together. And like Mark said, if you're in Louisville, even if you're in New Albany, if you're over the river in Jeff, it's still
Applies.
it all works together, and it's going to most likely end up being the same. But we try our best to really, I feel like more than others, go into more detailed timing, certain
We throw
areas.
darts where we can.
Yeah.
We recognize that
when
we're
possible.
exactly, that the data still limits in terms of what we can do. Rick, this is interesting. I'll spend a little bit of time on the severe weather ingredients. I won't go into extensive detail here. I'm going to go from the bottom up. You need forcing to fire the storms. The forcing on this one's absurd.
Undeniable.
It's absolutely obscene. In fact, we call this term for this type of a scenario highly forced, because the front is so monumentally powerful and the upper low is a beast. We need wind energy on this one, Rick. Two things I'm going to ask you. Is it adequate? What does this mean? And is it the kind that supports rotation?
So the wind energy is fierce. We're going to go through some of the data, but just a mile above our head, just a quick little prelude. There could be gusts of 70 miles per hour, strong winds above our head. Now, the question is, can we get that transferred down to the ground? So in terms of wind energy, it is definitely intense, and we use 40 as a bottom. So if I'm talking about 70, we're nearly doubling that.
Yeah.
Okay. And the wind energy also has a directional component, meaning it does not stay the same direction from the bottom to the top. It does change speed. It actually goes more east-southeast and then turns to the south-southwest, going up in the atmosphere. And as we know, directional shear, which is what we call it, is one of those outliers that can break rules when it comes to instability amounts. And that's why it makes Sunday very, very complex.
And instability is where I'm going to touch on that one. What is instability? It's fuel. You have a Corvette ZR1. It is does 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds. That thing's obscene. Now, what happens if you put water in the gas tank? It doesn't work that way. I mean, you got to put gas in the engine. If you have the most powerful engine in the world and you put water in the tank, it doesn't work. So the same thing happens in Mother Nature. You don't put water in the gas tank. If you put water in the gas tank in Mother Nature, it doesn't work. And what you're going to hear as we go through on this is it's complicated in some parts of it. I don't think it's similar to Wednesday in any way, shape, or form, because Wednesday had multi-waves. In this one, if we had 1,000 units of instability, this is a slam dunk where every single location in our area goes under a warning. And you're going to have some tornadoes. But that's not where we are. Major escalation on this one in terms of the risk. Last night we were on TV, Rick, and we were debating whether we wanted to do a video last night. Our logic on this one is, why do a video when you only have a slight to the west and not even in our area yet? So at the time we decided, let's not do the video. Let's wait a day. But I said it on TV last night, you did too, that it is inevitable that this had to come north. At the same time, I don't know that I anticipated them really stepping on the gas with the enhanced on day 3, and
to
the
go from
probability
nothing
is so high.
To enhanced is
and the probabilities are way up there.
They are. It's pretty extreme, and that's 45% is one of them. Just talking about wind specifically, and there it is right there. Our far western communities under that 45% risk of damaging. It's a probability. So.
But it's a coin flip.
That really is. It's heads or tails.
That's how high that is. I mean, that you just don't get. I'm just going to say this. I can't go back in my memory and remember the last time that we had a 45% on day 3.
That's one we had to look up.
So,
but it's very aggressive, and it's I would rather taper up to something like this rather
this would be my logic.
Rather than go full
bore.
But
they went full bore. I mean, and the reality on this is, it may not make a difference. It may not have made any changes, but if you go a little more conservative, at least if the data changes, you give yourself some wiggle room.
Yeah, for sure.
So just being clear here, Storms Prediction Center, eastern part of the area, who's that? Madison, Frankfurt, Lawrenceburg, Columbia. You have a probability at 15% of damaging winds or any severe weather. 30% goes through Louisville, Seymour, E-Town, Munfordville. It goes through Litchfield, Hardinsburg. 30% probability of severe weather. And then you can see the magenta there goes through around French Lick, Paoli, through around English, and then goes towards Jasper and Tell City as a really stout 45% probability. Now, I'm going to touch on this, Rick. It's something you and I have talked extensively about. If you saw our graphics and you viewed these hatched lines last year, what you probably remember us saying is this is where a significant probability of severe could occur. If I was showing you a tornado map, that would be where an EF2 to EF5 tornado could occur.
We also use the term better chance sometimes.
The problem is that this hatched, they changed the rules. And so now you have a scenario on day 3 where the hatched goes all the way into the Great Lakes. And I'm just going to show you. You can see those hatched lines. They're literally in the Great Lakes. And then the hatched line goes all the way down through our area. The hatched line goes all the way into the Gulf of Mexico. And
where haven't they hatched?
And that's what we're starting to see. We're hearing a lot of people complaining that now what has happened is basically everybody now being hatched. What happened is the Storms Prediction Center decided this year that they were going to introduce 4 different significant parameters. So there is no SIG. So this would be essentially SIG 0, or you would just see a flat graphic here. There's now a SIG 1, a SIG 2, and a SIG 3.
Right. And just so you know, SIG stands for conditional intensity groups.
But at the same time, we also use SIG before as an SIG for significant severe weather or significant tornado possible. So now people are seeing this and being like, well, does this mean I'm going to see significant severe weather because I'm in the hatched? Unfortunately, no.
Right. And now also, these are probabilities based.
So now you have a probabilistic map with SIG probabilities on top of the probability map.
Don't get me started.
It used to mean in the tornado, I'm just going to use it in the tornado sense.
Right.
It used to mean if we showed you a tornado probability of, let's say, 10% that was hatched, we would tell you that there is a 10% chance of a tornado, and there's probability of EF2 to EF5s. Now, what the new SIG means as you go up in the tornado is, number 1, means that there is a highest probability of EF2 or less. But that probability of an EF4 when you get into SIG 2 goes up 1 or 2%. And then the probability when you get into SIG 3 goes up 1 or 2% to 4 to 5%. This is going to be a monumental fail and disaster in terms of people that utilize this data.
It's not effective in communication. And to be honest with you, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
People got it.
I really understood and liked the way the other one worked, and it was very easy to understand.
Red light, green light. Red light, green light. Like red light, green light. Yeah. Everybody knows red light, green light. Like, if you're going to tell me it's going to be, people will say there's going to be severe. They say it's going to be really bad. Nobody's ever said to me, Mark, you know, are we talking about a 3% chance of an EF4?
Are we doing a SIG 1, SIG 2?
Or do you think this is a SIG 1 with a 3%? Or do you think this is a SIG 3 with a 5%? It was such a mistake. And it's going to create headaches. But we mentioned this. We'll show it to you in videos. The likelihood of us showing this ever on TV is very low.
Josh said my brain hurts.
He's right.
He's right. He's totally right.
Yeah, and so here's the funny thing about this. So I went down the rabbit hole a little bit earlier in the week because when we had, if you recall, they had SIG 1 on the 2% tornado risk on Wednesday in our eastern counties. If you watch my video, I was like, why would that be there? That's not even the right area. It's because it doesn't have the same bite or meaning that it once did. So SIG 1 is not that big of a deal. So nonetheless, I'll show you the probabilities. I'll say that they've got the hatch there. It is their SIG 1. It does imply that some level of significant could occur. Don't think it implies what it used to, which is
SIG 2 now.
What's that?
That's their SIG 2.
Is that SIG 2 on there?
Yeah.
Are you sure it's not SIG 1? The hatch. Well, where's the SIG 1 then?
That's the little dashes.
Do we even have it on the?
Maybe not.
I don't even know if SIG 1's in our. So it's a SIG 2.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm.
I'm going to move on. So
We're gonna move on.
what we will tell you,
So
and I'm just going to
confusing.
quantify, probably 60 to 70 in our area. You're like, well, the SIG 1 used to mean 75 plus, right? I mean, yeah, it was defined for destructive. The SIG before meant, I could see damaging winds. Well, I could see destructive winds.
To me, it's more about you're trying to communicate with people, and SIGs mean nothing. It's like if you tell someone, well, where you live has a greater potential at seeing destructive
Well, let's
winds.
just say more. Your area has a 20% chance, and then now finish that.
Of what?
I then add the SIG on top.
Oh, then I mean, then you're lost.
So you have a 20%, but then there's a 10% chance.
I stopped listening after the first part.
It's like it's the old Anchorman. 60% of the time it works every time. So looking around the area right now, I just want to be clear, guys. This is not something for tonight. Windy day today. I saw about 40. They were ripping at my house.
I could hear actually just some of the branches coming
Yeah.
down. I have not done some trimming yet, and I'm guilty of that. But today definitely helped strip some of those branches down, but nothing big. Just some dead
twigs.
Yeah, some dead twigs that needed to come down anyways.
Nothing fell in your car or anything.
Not this time.
Big acorns or whatever they are.
Those walnuts.
Walnuts.
I've got dents all over my hoods. The spring.
Are those SIG walnuts? SIG 1 or SIG 2
they were
walnut?
SIG 3. They were
Whoa.
SIG 3.
Whoa.
They did some serious. It looks like hail damage. That's what's crazy about it. It looks like hail damage. But I did some research. This was a mast year apparently, where the trees overproduce the amount of
Walnuts?
fruit and nuts and whatever they do, all that good stuff. And that's why, because I had learned the previous year where they stopped falling, and they exceeded that. Not only in so now I learned something I didn't know before, but
I'm gonna let you off on
I
this
did not
one
want I
now.
did not want to learn that.
So it was windy today, no extra dents to Mr. DeLuca's car that we know of right now.
Whew.
The storm's a long ways away, and this is part of the reason. It's not the one over the Great Lakes, it's the one way to the west. Part of the reason that I say I don't know if I would have stepped on the gas fully yet. I think I would have probably put the enhanced west of Louisville. I probably would have given myself some room.
Yeah.
I do think in our western counties, it's a very good probability of warnings. Just where does it start to weaken a little bit? And people are going to ask, what does it mean for tornadoes? And we are going to discuss that. So Rick, outside right now, we'll touch on this one. We're sitting at 57. The one number here that's important is that dew point that's right above my head, 33. And Rick, if you watch us on the regular, we say dew points would need to be near 65. E-Town's not there.
No, I mean, not even close. If you doubled it, we'd be there. But
how about Court? And let's have a look. See,
57. Listen, on the other side, it's a cool, comfortable night. No heat, no AC. Just open a window and let some of that fresh air in.
Are you telling me you have the air conditioning and HV set to the off position in your house right now?
When I left today, it was off.
Was it set to off?
It was set. I set them to off. When I get home, who knows? There could be heat upstairs, cool downstairs. I don't want to think about that. But yes, the dew points are even low in Corden, Mark. Pair of threes down there. This is not close. Listen, that LG&E bill, the last one, because they also, they started increasing the rates, and then between that and the cold,
it was brutal.
I blinked a couple times like this can't be real, but that's
so when we look at these dew points, they're inadequate. They're inadequate, and we know. Remember when we talked about fuel, we've got to have warmth and high dew points. Warmth and high dew points. Near 70 at Little Rock. I mean, that's kind of warm, not super warm. Maybe those dew points to the south are much higher. We're going to take a look at these. You're looking around the region and you see 7 in Pittsburgh. That's not 65. Des Moines 16. That's not 65. Well, that makes sense. I mean, come on, man. Come on. That's north of us. The higher dew points are going to be south of us. You're playing a game, right? I mean, 50 in New Orleans, 55 in Houston. It becomes exceptionally apparent that maybe 55 to 58 is absolute best case scenario.
right.
And it becomes blatantly obvious that fuel is a question mark here. This is not your normal situation where you have high fuel, high wind energy. There's not going to be much fuel. But Rick, you alluded to this, and I'm going to let you touch on this one because you were looking at these numbers earlier. There are the winds a mile above the ground.
And they are screaming, for a lack of better terms. So here we are at 850 millibars. So hold your horses. This is not surface wind, just to be very clear. This is a mile above the ground, but look at those wind gusts. 71-mile-per-hour winds above the ground in Louisville, 74 Hardinsburg. Now, spatially where those are really doesn't make a difference. What you know is we have strong winds from the south, which are 70 to 75 miles an hour a mile above the head. And why does it matter what's happening a mile above our head? Well, that's the environment for thunderstorms, which means they can take that wind and they could pull that down to the surface. And that's going to be an issue. And that's why, you know, when you have warning starting at 58 and you have that kind of wind energy to play with, and it's also not just speed shear, but it's also directional shear, that's where we see some issues there. You can actually see, Mark, it's pretty cool to see the difference of those winds clashing with the streamlines.
It shows a mile above the ground, 81 mile an hour
81, there's an
winds.
81.
I mean, here's the thing, though, I think is really important, and you kind of touched on this, but when we talk about the wind energy, there is something that we refer to as, is it directional? Is it not directional? And I'm just going to draw a line, an arrow over here. You can very clearly see aloft, these winds are out of the south-southwest. So this then becomes a question, if the winds at the surface are out of the same direction, there's no directional wind shear, you can't get tornadoes. Either way you look at this, you said it, these are not adequate for severe weather, these are over the top.
Right.
I mean, exceptional wind energy. And you can see all this leaves in the morning on Monday. So from here, we're going to go into the fuel. Now you're like, okay, we got a problem. There is 200 to 300 units of instability at 3 o'clock. Correct, but that's not when the storms are here.
We don't have anything.
So the window of the storms is overnight. Just before we get there, I'll tell you, I'm going to give you an hour early. I think it's going to be 11, but I'm going to say 10. And I would say as late as 2 to 3. Again, I'm going to give you that 6-hour window, but it's probably going to be 11 to 2. So then we should not be looking at 3 o'clock, correct? Right. So at 8 o'clock, there's 300 units. If there's directional wind shear, which will give you the cheat sheet there is, you can get away with very little amount of fuel.
Right.
You can't get away with zero, but you can get away with little. So what does little mean? In this scenario, to get a lot of warnings in our area, 200 to 300 units will do it. I know that sounds low if you watch us regularly, but this is exceptionally strong forcing, which is going to lift the air really fast, and there is some directional wind shear. So let's look at around 11. What I find interesting here is that, Rick, it is clear that there is going to be more fuel over Illinois, Western Indiana, Kentucky, Missouri, Arkansas, these areas. Within our viewing area, it becomes entirely apparent that there is going to be more fuel in the western parts of our area. So this area I feel very confident on, hence the reason I don't have a problem with the enhanced there. The challenge here is
how much
it drops off the chart when it gets to Louisville. Now, I'm not saying that that means it dies. I'm saying that this is what Advanced Track shows. There is pieces of data that shows the 300 all the way through Louisville, which if that happens, there will be severe weather. Will there be at your house? Will there be at every location? No, but I can guarantee you if you have that much fuel, it's not a ton, but with this kind of wind energy, you will end up with warnings, several warnings.
Right.
And then when we go east, the fuel is hurt. And in fact, it is a little bit higher further to the south. So this creates a little bit of an oddball here, Rick. We have fuel that's not zero, but in some areas it may be close. I would argue it's probably going to be 200 to 300. I think it's going to get the job done. But it's close. You're not talking about a scenario that has a lot of fuel here.
Right. And it does drop off from west to east, just so you know, which the line is still going to hold together at that point, but the intensity of it may come down somewhat as it makes its way across our area, which is going to do in a matter of, I would say, anywhere from maybe 2 to 3 hours
I'm with you. That's cooking.
Right.
These are 70-mile-an-hour motions.
It's just it's going to be moving so fast that you won't be up long watching these storms. But it's good to know about them because, Mark, I mean, there's the damaging winds obviously the main threat with these, but as you alluded to, we can't rule out isolated tornadoes.
And so from here, what we do want to show you then is what we call Advanced Track. And so if you've been kind of having your phone and you're like, oh, this guy's a ton of blah, 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 I just want you to get to the actual specific parts of the oh, that's the time where grab your phone now. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to actually go through and spend some time. We've laid out the foundation. The wind energy is hellacious. We know that the winds aloft are from the south-southwest. So what I want to do here is we look at advanced track, and you can see the time on your screen there. I want to move this into the evening.
But important note before you do that, Mark.
Okay.
If you have plans Sunday,
Yeah,
you
fair.
don't have to cancel those. I know a lot of people keep saying, well, Sunday we're going to have severe weather. While that's true, during the day, it's
Great
windy,
day.
it's warm. Temperatures are going to be hanging out in the 70s. I mean, I wouldn't recommend a picnic because you know the food may blow away, but it's definitely a day worthy of not canceling your plans. This is not until at night. So sorry, I had to just put
No,
that
no,
out
that's
there.
and that's a valid, important point here. So you know that the winds aloft are this direction. What you see here is the surface is not in that direction. So I'm going to draw the shorter arrow to show surface winds and the longer arrow to show the aloft winds. We're not talking about a massive amount of turning. That's about 30 to 40 degrees. But there is so much of that occurring in the lowest 3 kilometers of the atmosphere, lowest mile-ish, and even there's quite a bit under 1,000 feet. This is enough to cause storms to behave different, where they can survive lower fuel because there's two very favorable things here occurring. We have very highly forced, and we do have a level of directional wind shear. Not elite directional, but this is by definition directional.
And we've seen it over and over again, but oftentimes, if not almost all the time, we can see that sort of wind shear, the directional, overcome low instability situations, which is why we're here talking about that. It's just, even though you think storms at night, the atmosphere should be cooler.
The
We've
wind
told them
will
that.
not allow that to happen.
The wind, yeah, that's going to be key here.
And you can see, so there's 9, and we'll be able to look at those temperatures as we
It's
move.
mild.
But it's not going to cool. In
No.
fact, a lot of times we sometimes
Temperatures-
see a temp
yeah,
jump a
right.
degree or two.
Mhm.
So remember, on the top right part of your screen is the time. The time is the most important part of this. So 10 o'clock, our in-house model, this is our in-house weather model, breaches the Indiana-Illinois border, the Kentucky-Illinois border between 9 and 10. So this is now bearing down on us. Rick, what we look when we see this, you've looked at AT, what we call advanced track, many times with me. When this is highly intense, you get blacks in there. And
yeah.
sometimes when it's crazy intense, you get whites in there.
White.
We don't have either. We don't even have brick reds. So this is telling us this is not a lot of fuel. This is telling us, but it's also showing red, which what we normally see in this is a low top line, maybe 30,000 feet versus a monumental spring storm that squeezes 60,000 plus. But because the winds are so hellacious in this scenario and there is a little directional, that line can still pack a punch. And that line is entering our area probably between 11 and midnight, I think. And, you know, that's throwing a dart. So let's say between 10 and midnight, 10 and 1.
Right. Keeping wider ranges, the longer. But as we get closer, we can kind of definitely nail those down. But yeah, this is definitely something where up until 10 o'clock, you don't have to worry about anything. And then beyond 10, we get these storms moving in. So you're doing 2 hours, so which means Louisville is the next question, probably 11 to maybe 1 o'clock in the morning.
And the problem here is when you look at this line, you know, if you are a little bit of a weather geek like we are, if you have kind of looked at weather as a hobby, you're probably noticing something.
Some kinks and some breaks.
And I'm actually going to roll this back an hour. And what you're going to see, if I can actually grab it. Whoa, that is not an hour. Okay, so I grabbed way too much. Okay, so we're going to go back to 11. It's a hard, steady line with no breaks. It's showing it breaking down now. This can be one of two things. This can be allowing low-level rotation to occur, and that could be what we call quick spin tornadoes. You can get those. Could you get a stronger tornado in here? It is not out of the realm of possibility, although the fuel may not be enough. This could also be a sign that it's showing that it may be breaking down and weakening. So it will be important after we look beyond this, moving into Louisville between 11 and 1, what actually happens in the next frame. And the next frame still shows the broken line. It doesn't show it falling apart. Where this falls apart is going to be somewhat hard. Exactly location, I mean, I can tell you that getting that 3 days out's impossible.
Right.
But this is now in our eastern counties between midnight and 2 a.m. And I think it's probably going to start to lose the punch near Frankfurt. and then you can see it just gets decimated. But to speak to the power of the
What's that
front,
stuff on the map there, Mark?
that's pimples.
Pimple.
There are snow showers on there. I mean, that's look, that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to roll this one more time only because I think this answers a huge number of people's questions that they're going to have.
The when.
So let's go through, and I'm going to take this one on timeline here. So 11, I'm going to say 10 to midnight are western counties as it stands. Could this change a little? Sure. Storm's not in the U.S. yet. What happens if it gets later? Later, slightly less fuel, slightly weaker. This is then approaching Louisville sometime between around 11 and around 1 a.m. So that's the I-65 corridor. Do you live on the I-65 corridor? Well, you do if you're North Vernon, if you're Seymour, if you're Salem, if you're Henryville, if you're Scottsburg, if you're Jeff, Clarksville, New Albany, Louisville, Shepherdsville, Mount Washington, you're near the I-65 corridor in Brandenburg, you're near the I-65 corridor in E-Town, Munfordville, Horse Cave. We're in our eastern counties around 1 a.m. What does that mean? So midnight through around 2 a.m. would include you Madison, south to Shelbyville, would include you in the Frankfort area, Lawrenceburg, Springfield, Campbellsville, Greensburg, Columbia, and then breaching and pulling away from our area somewhere between 2 and 4 a.m. So this then full circle takes us back around. Is the enhanced risk properly placed? Based on the data right now, yes. But here's my argument. The data may not be completely exactly right at day 3, and I would have kept it a little further west. My opinion is I'm more of a conservative forecaster, and that's kind of how I function in there.
Make it a smaller area and expand it.
Let the avocado get bigger rather than getting smaller. So the enhanced risk of severe weather, damaging winds, small hail, isolated tornadoes. Rick, order those in terms of the threats.
Damaging winds by far is going to be the top of the list. There's really no comparison to that. If you're talking about everything else, winds are up here. I'd say maybe isolated tornadoes around here.
I'd say the same.
And then you can see some small hail, but within these QLCSs, you don't really get large hail.
I'm 100% on.
So small hail, you could maybe hear some pings outside, but I would be worried about winds the most. And then tornadoes, which again, this is very isolated if you get damage. Just because you go under a warning, don't expect to step outside and see trees down all over the place. And if you don't, be grateful because just know that somewhere else, that may not be the same case.
So let's now go back to your isolated tornado. Are we talking about tornadoes that can be on the ground, like the one that occurred in northern Indiana, the one that was on the ground for 36.6 miles?
No, that was a supercell thunderstorm, a completely different animal. It was all by itself. It's a discrete cell, which means all the fuel that was out there, and there was a good amount, it basically had the whole buffet to itself. And that's why that storm was able to stay together in such a very strong structure for a long time, producing. That one actually did produce, so unofficially, record hail. 6.14 was the hailstone that was recovered in Kankakee. And a professor was out yesterday inspecting it, and he said if everything goes according to plan, that this probably will be the new Illinois state record. The old one was 4.8. That's how big the hail was in diameter, which means it crushed it by over an inch.
I've seen the pictures. I mean, it's going to verify.
Yeah.
Even if it's not the exact number he said, it's way bigger than.
Right. I know it's all formalities at this point, so I don't
way. But no, you're right. It's not until the climatologists of the state measure it. Right. It's not official here. So
the professor was out there. He tweeted about it. I was following him.
NIU guy.
Yeah, and then a gentleman, Christopher, helped me out with some information that I was really grateful for, and he was so kind and so open about it. And he said his parents were the one who were there. He just was kind of the messenger.
So back to this.
Sorry, you got off track. Way off track.
36.6 mile tornado. Could you get something that long here?
No, and what else?
No.
Okay.
So what we're talking about is quick spins. Can quick spins briefly get a little stronger? They can.
They can.
And that's something that at 3-day range is tough to say.
Right. And when Mark says brief, these things have, when we're here covering these events, every single scan that comes in on radar.
It's exhausting.
Yeah. I mean, your eyes, by the time I leave, I'm just seeing
I know
greens and reds all over. But that's the thing. That's what matters, though, because inside a couple minute time span, you can have these weak tornadoes drop down, do some damage, and lift back up.
Sometimes it's in between the scan.
And that's another good point.
And the Weather Service has tools for this. So the weather radar that's used, that we all use, is also used by aviation. So there's some really important things when there's thunderstorms in. We need to be able to look at the tops of those storms. So the radar has different tilts, and seeing the tops of the storms is very important for aviation because they need to know, can I fly over this? So we utilize all of these tilts all the time. However, when low-level scans become highly important, i.e. quick spin tornadoes, we have tools that we can use on the radar, sales modes, other options. But what that does is that'll trim out some of the high tilts so that we can focus and get those low-level scans more quickly, determine when a tornado is forming, and get it more quickly, more accurately. Some have asked me, is there a way to solve this and get these almost continuously? The answer is yes. It's called phased array radar. I am fascinated by phased array. If I could go back to college right now, which I'm not planning on, I did Doppler on wheels radar research. If I right now could choose a different field of research and go back into college, I would continue to do radar, but I would do phased array because I would love to see deployment of this someday.
Future.
Because I do think it is. There's some problems with it because it can get damaged more easily than what we have. But phased array would allow us to get low-level scans on the order of 10 seconds, which means we would never miss the tornado forming. So, but we're not there yet. We're not there. It's deployed in some research phases, but it is not operational. Back to this, we'll go into quickly the threat. You talked about this, Rick. The 45 is a big deal in the western part of our area. On day 3, we just don't get that. Does that mean that it's elite severe? I don't think that's what it means, but I think it means the chance of you in French liquor Paoli getting severe is very high. It's higher than it would be in Maysville, Kentucky.
Correct. And just telling people, we've been through these kind of scenarios before. This is nothing that's uncommon or irregular. In fact, a lot of these tend to happen during some of the cooler months, like fall, November, December. Common. We get a lot of these overnight. We call them QLCS, quasi-linear convective system.
Wait, what?
It's a lot. I know.
What does that mean?
It's a quasi-linear convective system.
So in English,
it's a line
okay.
that is convectively driven.
Okay.
That's linear, which means that's the line part, and it's a system. All those things.
So the QLCS, what makes that different than just the squall line?
Right.
The QLCS has kinks.
And it's in those kinks that you get those spin ups. That's what we have to watch. Those little kinks of the brakes. And that's why when we showed you future radar, we're like, okay, is this weakening, or are we seeing a breakdown which can allow for some more instead of just damaging winds, little spins? And that's usually what we get. I mean, typically we do get a couple spins, and more often than not, it's damaging winds. And that's usually how these unfold.
So we've now walked through the timeline, and I hope you've gotten your town. We've walked through some of the threats. Some have asked, what would be the peak winds? Is this a derecho?
That's a good question.
It is a really good question. Nothing shows derecho in our area. What? Derecho is a long-lasting, extremely severe line of thunderstorms. This does not show that elite potential, in my opinion. What about our area?
And it's Spanish for straight, too, since you're the Spanish guru.
True. So I've actually, over the last 3 years, decided that I was going to learn Spanish. And so I've been spending a lot of time studying. I study 30 minutes a day, every single day. I'm trying to learn Spanish. And eventually I would love to be able to, in a scenario, mention quickly if we have a warning or something like that, in Spanish, because, there are people that sometimes speak English, some speak Spanish, some speak both, some are more fluent in one or the other, but
right.
I just don't. I like the brain food. You know me. You've known me a long time.
I know he's always doing some other project. As soon as he gets one done, he's on to another one.
I want to become trilingual. That's actually my goal, is to go on to maybe learn Italian. I want to
see. Okay, I'm there with you. So, I know a little bit.
So in terms of peak winds, 60, some maybe 70s. Are we talking 75 and 80s? I don't think those are going to be widespread. I don't think. I think that may be a little bit much in this scenario. Could you get one? It is possible. In terms of tornadoes, are we talking about high-end EF4, EF5s? That doesn't look like that's in play in this scenario either. So I just wanted to mention where we stand on that. And we always do our videos, but our videos are not always just Mr. DeLuca and I talking. Sometimes we also do where we listen to your questions. And that's where we want to go from here, is we want to answer and go into some Q&A and answer what your questions are regarding this line. So if you have any questions, please ask them. Number two, just because we don't answer your question immediately doesn't mean we're ignoring you. Sometimes the problem here is that the questions move across so fast and we can only see 6. So ask multiple times and we'll answer it. We will find time. So let's go into this. Rick, start us with some questions, my friend.
Okay. Jamie's asking, will the whole team be there on Sunday?
That's a good question.
It's a good question. I mean, Jamie, the more people you see, typically the more concerned you should be. And, listen, first off, Mark's in charge here. Okay. He's the boss. So I'm not going to say.
We all are a team.
I know, but I'm not doing the staffing.
So let's just say where we stand right now. Matthew's on shift.
Right.
Jude comes in at 2 a.m. What I will do is I will be the standby for Sunday night. Rick and I have talked about this. Rick will be what we call double standby. So Matthew, if he needs backup, I would come in. If then it starts to escalate, then we would bring Rick in. Is this a scenario where we would need everybody on our team here? My opinion is probably not.
No.
And I would say probably not because 1 or 2 people can probably get us through the 2 to 3 hour window.
Right.
And what we don't ever want to do on our team is overly tax everybody because this is the beginning of storm season. We still need to make sure we keep people fresh in case somebody gets overtaxed and needs to get a little bit of rest.
Right.
So
and Jude comes in early in the morning on Monday if need be. And, obviously we have Bryce there as well. So there's always multiple scenarios and we have kind of everyone lined up just in case and know in advance how to cover everything and cover it adequately. And that's always, we always have that one rule that said, if you're ever in trouble, just text help, which usually I rarely do even get to that.
I have done it once.
You've done it once?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had to do that.
It's not cool when it happens, but it can happen.
Yeah,
so
but that's like the worst case scenario.
Worst case.
Yeah.
But we have always plans and we talk a lot. I mean, Rick and I, nothing personal. I don't want to talk to you this weekend because I want it to be completely no weather going on. But the reality is we'll be talking some. So, Kalista, I like this question. She says, I have severe storm anxiety. How bad is it going to be in Henry County? So I'm going to take this one because I do appreciate the question. So when it comes to this anxiety, and we see this a lot of people get extremely overly worked up anytime they hear the term severe weather. And I'm talking right to you right now for every one of you out there that is dealing with severe weather anxiety. I have been somebody that is storm chased for, I started my first storm chase in 1996. So now I've been storm chasing for 30 years. I have seen more destruction than any human being should ever see in a lifetime. I've seen EF4 tornadoes in our area, and I'll just use Henryville as an example. I went in toward Henryville after the March 2nd, 2012 tornado. And what we saw out of Henryville is that a lot of those homes were severely damaged by that EF4. Many of those homes, in the middle of the house, the closet was still there. It wasn't like it was just barely there. All 4 walls were there, and there was still ceiling on there. And when I tell you that if you do the right thing during any type of severe weather, your chance of survival is extremely high, understand it's coming from somebody who has spent a lifetime analyzing severe weather, doing storm surveys. I've worked as a forensic meteorologist, considered an expert by our courts and by our legal system. And I would tell you that the same thing I'll tell every kid when I go out and do a school talk. When you do the right thing, your chance of survival is amazingly high. I'm going to give you one stat because I find this stat incredibly interesting. May 3rd, 1999, I chased that storm, widely considered the most powerful tornado ever to hit the U.S. Record winds on that were 318 miles an hour. We've never eclipsed that even to this date. 43 people died from that tornado. Not a single person passed under the age of 18. Why? We believe that because the younger generation, we go out and work school talks and help a lot, that they have been instructed on what to do. And what then happens is they make the better choices and their parents with them make the better choices. I hate to say it, but sometimes it's the parents making the bad choices. And I'm not speaking to you or anybody out there, but it's the adults, where the adult goes like this. Hey, I'm going to get video of that tornado. Hey, there's a power line exploding across the street. I'm gonna take a pic, and then that's the way the story ends.
Yeah.
So understand, when it comes to severe weather anxiety, when you make good decisions, the outcome's positive. Um, I would ask you to process that. Let that sink in deeply from somebody with, I would say, a lot of expertise on this. Don't have anxiety. Be prepared. Be prepared in knowing what you would do if something happens. If severe weather's going towards your house or my house, I know exactly the place I'll go. I know the part of the basement I'm going to go to. I know the exact spot. I'll put a mattress down there. I'd put towels. Now, will I be at home during severe? Probably not. But I'm just saying to you, and I'm saying to everybody with severe weather anxiety, have the plan in place.
Right.
And then lean on that, knowing when you do what you're supposed to do, you almost always survive these events.
I always feel, and I do that with everything in life. If you have a plan, if you're prepared, if you have a strategy, then the anxiety goes away because you know what you need to do. And you get so focused on what you need to do that you kind of sometimes can not forget about it completely, but it helps ease any sort of anxiety that you may have. So
It's
that's
like, I got this.
yeah, it's I know what I need to do if something was to occur.
And
you can
and
yeah,
practice
really.
it. So it's muscle memory.
Yeah.
The second you hear the tornado warning, you immediately go quickly to where you need to go. And you trust that that is going to save your life if that happens. And I can tell you, again, that having done this for a really long time, that it does save your life. So, you know, don't be the guy doing the selfie. Don't be the guy thinking I'm an amateur storm chaser. I'm going to get in my car. I'm going to drive after this. Be the person that takes precautions if there was a tornado warning, and be the person that's around tomorrow. You know, I mean, it's simple stuff.
I was so actually Superman was on last night. One of the Supermans.
Which one?
I don't know. It just something was on. Honestly, I was
What
on,
are you just saying? Something was on. Where's the
I was
story?
on. Okay, I was on YouTube and I was just watching like action clips.
So now you're on YouTube.
I'm on YouTube. I'm watching action clips and Superman's on, and everyone runs from a tornado under the overpass.
No.
Yeah. And
What Superman was it?
I don't know. I was just watching.
This is making me crazy.
And I was like, I was just in my. I'm sitting there. It's 1 o'clock. I'm like, no, just yelling at the TV like a weirdo.
I'm not going to tell the whole story on this, but May 3rd, 1999, Shields Boulevard. Shields Boulevard, I-35. People pulled off, got under the overpass. They got out of their cars and they climbed up into the overpass. I'll tell you this, and I don't like to tell stories that are graphic because I don't know sometimes if there's a point, but in this one I think it makes a point. The winds were so hellacious in that it was 318 miles an hour. People went up to the top there. The problem is now you have this. So why does that matter? I've got the faucet here. Water's coming out. It's not shooting very far, right? It's just kind of coming out. I stick my thumb over it and now I narrow the gap. Now it's shooting real far. So now those winds, which were 318, have now accelerated in the top part of that overpass, and now you're in the worst case scenario. So there was so much dirt and debris being kicked by that it was blowing everywhere. I believe nearly 10 people died under that overpass that day. And the most jarring thing I saw is that you could see the outlines of people's body because of the debris and mud that was pushing itself up against the concrete. I'm only telling you this because I want it to sink in that when you make bad decisions, the consequences can be severe. Getting out of your car, going up in an overpass is a super dangerous thing, to the Superman point, and why we cringe when we see that.
It's just, because I'm like, you think people are watching this and if, that seems to be the most safe spot. And I clearly saw a ditch back there because they were in their cars, which is a place you don't want to be.
It's also a death trap.
Right. So you don't want to be in your car either, but finding a sturdy building. And also, this is Friday. We're not talking about something until Sunday night. We're not even talking about large tornadoes or anything, but it's always good leading up to any severe weather event that if you feel like you live in a structure that's not safe enough, find a friend.
Knock on their door tomorrow and
know?
say, hey, I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried. Do you mind if I come into your apartment, which is on the first floor, if there was severe weather? Thank you. I really appreciate that. I mean, we live in an area.
Who's going to say? I mean, yeah.
Who would ever say no?
I mean, I feel like I always say this all the time. I feel like we live in a place that has the highest concentration of good people. Someone who's willing to help someone out. And to me, I'd rather live my life around people like that than ones who, don't care about you, don't even look in the eyes. So I feel like, this is a great time to make friends with your neighbor, be aware. And if, again, people with storm anxiety, that's a great thing too, is because someone else has your back and is going to help you out and you have somewhere to go.
So and I'm with you. It's all about preparation.
Yep.
There is no luck. It's preparation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to answer this question. Jen Holland said, what did the hatched area mean?
Uh-oh. Jen, it's a sensitive subject.
So last year, I would tell you that means the chance of significant severe. The Storms Prediction Center decided over the winter, and this has been in the test bed for years, that they were going to add basically 4 categories in the significant. You're like, well, I only saw SIG 1, 2, 3. Correct, but there's no SIG. So there's no hatched, there's single hatched, there's dashed hatched, there's hatched, and then there's double hatched.
Cross hatched.
And it's like, wait a minute, what? So the hatched means there is a chance of significant severe. Unfortunately, it doesn't mean what it meant a year ago. I'll just show you the graphic here, and I'm actually going to take the graphic full. I'm just going to show you. Last year, this would have been literally impossible. You would never see the hatched going everywhere. So now in 2026, you have a 5% chance with a hatched all the way into the Great Lakes, literally going now all the way through. Every single ounce of the risk is hatched, except in the far western part of the risk. So this is atrocious. Atrocious. How are you supposed to know where that chance of significant severe weather would be when everybody's hatched?
I feel like they like doodling over there.
It's atrocious.
Ridiculous.
It's atrocious. We should have allowed the severe risks to speak and the probabilities. Last year, we told you where the chance of something really bad is. Now, when you say, Mark, Rick, where could it be really bad? Our answer is, well, you're going to be in the SIG 1 threat here. You're in the SIG 2 threat here. And then you're in the cross double SIG 3 here. Mark, no. Stop, buddy. I just want to know where the chance of me seeing significant severe. Well, now you're in the dashed hatched here. You're in the real hatched here, but you're in the double. It makes no sense. It literally makes no sense. What? What happened? What happened?
Is it Friday? Is it Friday?
What happened?
He's lost it.
I'm just saying. If it sounds weird to you, it sounds weird to us too.
Well done.
I made my point though.
You made your point. You got some laughs out of us too. Oh my gosh.
So that's what the hatch doesn't mean what it did a year ago. I'm just going to tell you where we are now. If you're in the double hatched, be really worried.
Yeah.
If you're in the other ones, I hate to say it, but sometimes I just the single hatch I'm ignoring at this point because it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's
honestly,
ridiculous.
In my head, that's kind of the same conclusion.
And I hate to say it, but it's ridiculous. So, yeah, I mean,
you got laughs from Holly Ann too. You got some well done. I don't know what this character is, but this is a new character. I haven't seen this character before.
Sometimes you got to invent things on the fly.
We joke a lot, but in the Weather Center, trust me, we were all jokesters. But that was a new one, and I'm glad that you came up with that.
So Aqua Marie is saying SPC really didn't think about the public at all in this one.
Well done. Whoa.
So yes, I would say that as well. I think sometimes people are like, well, SPC's graphics are for the professional meteorologist, not the public. If that's true, then they wouldn't be on a website sitting there in a public domain for everybody to look at. Somebody said to me earlier that SPC puts these out, but it's the Weather Service's job to break it down. The Weather Service puts out very technical forecast discussions, and they put out public forecasts that everybody can read and see. Storms Prediction Center also puts this out to the public and to the professional. And quite frankly, for us that do this for a living, we don't need to necessarily look at the SPC risk. We're looking at the same data they are, and we know the exact same thing. So this stuff is not just for the professional. It's for the regular person, the hobbyist, everybody out there. So,
gotcha.
Jayla, I'm going to send this one to you, Rick. She is asking any power outages possible.
Sure, absolutely. We don't have a lot of leaves, if any, on the trees, which is a good thing because that would definitely add more surface area for those winds to wrap onto. But sure, power outages an absolute possibility. Do I think it's going to be numerous, catastrophic? No. But there could be definitely scattered power outages where we see some tree limbs come down. Typically, they would be maybe some old limbs that aren't quite as strong. That's not going to stand up to the winds. But yes, we could see power outages. Also, let's see, getting a question from Courtney.
Courtney,
She
okay.
said, Rick, where should I go if I live in an apartment on the top
Okay.
floor?
That's a
Courtney,
great question.
what I want you to do is, like we said before, make friends with someone on the first floor. Or a lot of times those apartment complexes, maybe there's some sort of maintenance area or a hallway at the bottom. What you want to do is get as basically inside of that building as you can. If there is a hallway inside that, exterior walls to create a barrier between you and the storm. And if there's a basement, then that's the best place you can be. But if not, you want to find somewhere on that first floor that is safe, secure. Even if you talk to your landlord, typically sometimes they have great information. Maybe know of a room that they've gone to or in the past that we typically like to put everyone in. So yeah, being in the top floor, I don't want you to stay there.
I agree.
That's my message for you.
And we've seen scenarios where the tops
get ripped off and
the bottoms are fine.
Yep, and so just find someone, make friends on the first floor, and you're going to be much better off. Do not stay in the top floor, I beg you.
And this question coming in from Patrick, he said, what kind of severe weather are we expecting Sunday night? Is it overnight? Number one, yes, it's overnight. If I'm putting you in a time right now, I'd watch from 10 to 3. 10 to 2, 10 to 3, we'll get it a little bit tighter, but I just want you to kind of get the sense. This is not during the day. Damaging winds would by far be the primary threat. How are we talking about destructive winds? 60, 65s are possible. If we got a little more fuel, some 70s could occur. That's going to be something we watch. I think though 60, 65 are going to be more common. Can we get tornadoes? Yeah, I mean, we can, and we do see tornadoes in this scenario. They're normally not the stronger ones. They're normally EF0, EF1. But look, I mean, it's easy to say, well, it's only an EF1 or EF0 until it hits my house, you know, and then it's a seriously big deal. So those are the threats as we stand on this system. It's 9:13. We're going to have to eventually go back in there and look at some data. So we're now down to our last 3 questions here.
All right.
So Rick, I'll let you take number 1 and number 3, my friend.
Let's see. Ryan is in Valley Station, wants to know, will this include heavy rain and thunderstorms with the wind or just bad winds? Today we had winds, not a single drop of rain, which is not going to be the case on Sunday. On Sunday, we're going to have both. It's going to be heavy rain, it's going to be gusty winds, and they will be coming together. The rain is coming along for the ride with those winds, and inside there can be a weak, brief spin up. So that's something we're keeping an eye on for you. But yes, the rain and the wind, they will come together, because what's going to happen is that rain and those storms will be yanking some of that wind down to the surface. And that's why you need to watch out for severe weather Sunday night. So I appreciate that question. Hopefully that helps you out a little bit.
And I'm going to take this one from Becca Huff. She's saying, I live in Spencer County, Indiana. What are your thoughts for Spencer County, Indiana? So, you know, what I will tell you is the further west we go in Indiana, the greater the chance of severe. So Spencer County being a little bit further west, I think your chance is pretty good. Damaging winds should be, in my opinion, widespread in western Indiana, western Kentucky, and that chance will ramp down slowly, but there's a pretty good chance you get damaging winds. A couple of tornadoes, obviously, as we noted in the line, are possible. I would just have your plan in place. I say it all the time. I mean, Rick and I are planners. I mean, we do this for a living. We're in the risk mitigation business. But this is one that there's probably some people that are going to stay awake here watching the line go through. We'll be awake with you. Some have asked if we'll do lives. We will do lives if we have a tornado warning. And I will say this, the world in 2026 is different than the world was in 2016. This year, what we've done in the past is we've done our tornado warning coverage on TV. And we've put it on the WDRB+ app, which we would ask you to download. It's a great way, rather than just trying to, you know, screw around and find the coverage. It's right there. Download WDRB+. You can get it on WDRB.com, but we're also going to be streaming on YouTube, on Facebook, on my TikTok page. We may on X if we can.
Which is where you are right now.
So
this is going to be your source.
And it will be our professional coverage. Yeah. The decision kind of came down to there's so many people out there putting this stuff out there where some person is sitting in their basement. They bought the cheap little globe light for $10 on Amazon, and they're doing weather off of their little radar app. What we wanted to do is bring the professional stuff that we do on TV with our professional equipment, with our key wall, so that you see the same professional coverage that we offer on TV and on the WDRB Plus and on the WDRB News app, on our social pages. So
And the experience, which is the most important part.
we've been here a long time. I
Yeah.
mean, you can see from the grays that Rick has on the side of his head. Rick, last question's yours.
Hey,
Hey, by the way,
they're
I've
coming
noticed
in.
you
They're coming in.
you haven't yawned today either.
I
I'm
haven't
pretty
yawned yet.
impressed.
I am locked in. Knock that off. That was an anomaly. Last question. It was that voice that really kept me alive this time. Traveling from Louisville to Hardinsburg Sunday afternoon between 1 and 3. Will the storms already be through? Is it safe to travel? Do I need to wait?
Good question.
Samantha, go for it. Go from 1 to 3, but don't go at night.
Agreed.
This is Sunday night, and I know people may just see Sunday, and maybe your brain just tells you to stop reading there. During the day Sunday, while the winds pick up, the temperatures get warm, we're not going to see any storms during the daylight hours. It's going to hold off until after dark.
It'll be windy, though. I mean, we might get an advisory on that day, but that shouldn't stop you from driving.
It shouldn't stop you from driving. There'll be southwesterly winds. So you're talking about Hardinsburg. So, yeah, you'll probably be on 64 and 65. So that, you could be dealing with some gustier winds. Just stay away from the 18-wheelers. That's my advice. They make me sweat every time we have these windy days.
Do you try when you get next to one and it's windy like that? Do you stay back, time it, and then just try to zoom past them so you don't have to basically limit the amount of time?
I am out. Yeah, I do the exact same thing.
It's scary. Like when I see those tandems, and they're literally looks like a fishtailing.
I saw it on the way to work today.
Did you?
I did. I do not like.
Oh.
I do not like.
And it's not like we're saying it's their fault, but
no, it's just you have service area, high profile vehicle.
Right.
You can't avoid that. And yeah, I saw on the way to work today. I just stayed back and did exactly what you said. I waited, and you saw the pocket. I saw this little pocket. I was like, all right, it was right by Arthur Avenue. I was like, I didn't speed, but I did get
exactly at the speed limit. He's going exactly at the speed limit.
Not a mile above it. Not a mile above it.
Not a half a mile less.
But yeah, I'm the same way. I kind of wait till it looks safe enough where I can get through. I go by and then I feel better.
So I think you can do that. Rick thinks you can do it. We're both in agreement on this.
Yes.
So number one, there is new data coming in, and what we would ask from you is allow us the time to analyze that. Come back on WDRB News at 10 to watch me. Come back on WDRB News at 11 to watch Rick DeLuca. We're both going to be analyzing that data, and as we get chances to sift through as it's rolling in, each one of our updates will include more information at 10 and at 11. If you guys have enjoyed our Facebook Live, please thumbs up across the screen. You can throw some hearts if you really enjoyed them. For our YouTubers in here, please comment and let us know. I'm going to go back into my TikTok page. If you've joined there, please comment. Let me know you appreciate it. And again, please come back and watch us. Be weather aware Sunday night. We'll probably have a video tomorrow morning. Bryce might do one tomorrow morning. Matthew may do one tomorrow night. Bryce may do one Sunday morning. Matthew and I may do one Sunday night. What I'm getting at, follow Rick DeLuca, follow Bryce Jones, follow Matthew Wine, follow Jude Redfield, follow me. That way you will get alerts when we go live, and you can watch it in however you want and whatever the best way is for you. So appreciate you guys here in our live tonight. We're going to wrap this up, and I'll see you on WDRB News at 10. He'll see you on WDRB News at 11. That's the end of tonight's live. Rick DeLuca is going,